To kick off our 2 weeks of Sexual Assault Awareness Month events, we held a Take Back the Night March and Vigil on Tuesday, April 19th at PCC. This event was created to create awareness on the Pacific Coast campus about the issue of sexual violence and to let it be known that violence of any kind will not be tolerated on our campus and in our community. We had a special speaker, LBCC Human Services instructor, Anaita Madavi, and she spoke to our participants about eliminating sexual violence on college campuses. The attendees marched on campus and along Pacific Coast Highway. We held vigil candles, protest signs, and chanted messages that sexual violence will not be tolerated. Our goal was to create a venue in which people didn't have to be silent about sexual violence. We wanted them to feel safe to speak up and to speak out loud. After our march, we reconvened at the quad and invited participants to share their personal testimonies or experiences. Throughout the event, we also had qualified staff on hand to provide counseling services if they were requested or needed. After this event, I was personally approached by several students who identified themselves as sexual assault survivors. They stated that their participation in this event had a powerful impact on them, and most importantly, that they felt comforted knowing that LBCC cares and supports them.
To continue our efforts, on Monday, April 25th, we were honored to welcome Director Cecilia Peck. She screened her documentary, Brave Miss World, in T1200. The film explored the trauma of sexual assault through both the former Miss Israel, who was crowned Miss World 6 weeks following her rape, as well as other women who are on this journey from victims to activists. The screening was followed by a discussion between our students and the film's director. Like the other events, it was evident that there was a real personal impact for our students within a safe environment to share their personal stories. Other activities LBCC have established also include
On Thursday, April 21st, we had the YWCA of Greater Los Angeles Clothesline Project on display at our quad in front of Building E. The Clothesline Project is a public display created by T-shirts that are done by survivors of sexual assault as part of their healing process. One of the things that we wanted to provide our students was an opportunity to create their own T-shirts. We had approximately 40 students that stopped at our activity tables and created their own T-shirts with their own personal messages of support. Half of these students chose to keep their own T-shirts, while the others donated their T-shirts back to the project in order to help grow the message of support and hope for our survivors. We also had guest speakers, Peace Over Violence. They spoke to our students about recognizing unhealthy relationships and what they can do as bystanders to stop the abuse culture. In addition to having tables with information about our campus and community resources, we also had a rolling board that had a poster on it with a simple question: what can you do to prevent sexual violence? We had more than 75 students stop by this board to write their own anonymous, personal, yet powerful messages of support. In addition to speaking about the significance of Denim Day, we wanted to provide our students with information and resources by distributing literature and promotional items. In the Fishbowl at 12 p.m., tomorrow, Wednesday, April 27th, we will have a guest speaker, Alice LaViolette. Her presentation uses fairy tales to focus on the socialization and its impact on what we learn about becoming men and women and how this learning impacts our adult relationships. Alice is an expert in the subjects of domestic violence, anger management, and gender issues. She founded the agency Alternatives to Violence, one of the first programs for spousal abusers. She also has strong ties with local agencies and programs such as the Women's Shelter and End Abuse Long Beach. She is revered as a dynamic and engaging speaker and we know that she will offer our students a wealth of knowledge and support. Throughout the last several weeks, we have also presented to several of our student leadership groups to encourage them to wear denim on Denim Day. Students who wear Denim Day tomorrow will be eligible to receive 1 hour of service through the Viking Volunteer Program.
We have a few other additional activities that we've been doing at Long Beach City College, such as pledge signing, where you can take a pledge to make a personal commitment to help keep women and men safe from sexual assault. Students, faculty, staff, and board members can pledge on a paper pledge card at any of our activities or in the fishbowl in the e-building, or by visiting itsonus.org. Information and resources have been available at all events, and again in student life. We have literature, we have buttons, pins, bracelets. We'd also like to thank the Multimedia Instructional Services for streaming the Consent T video on our monitors across campus. And finally, we'd really like to to acknowledge that local dignitaries throughout the state have taken action to raise awareness and show their support against sexual violence as well. Some chose to wear high heels to walk a mile in her shoes. Others chose a different style, proving that the dress or the skirt does not define the man or the woman, and that your clothes do not define you. Therefore, we'll unveil a slide to share with you, because we would really like to thank all of you for supporting this effort. Thank you.
Socks. Great, thank you very much. Agenda item, I'm still recovering from that last slide. Could that be the slide we keep up perpetually during the meetings to, oh, sorry. 3.2, supporting those who served the Veterans Resource Center presentation.
Again, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Peterson to make that introduction.
We're honored tonight to give you a little update on the hard work we've been engaged in serving our large veteran student population. And tonight we have our Deputy Director of Enrollment Services, Frank Menuvar.
What?
Good evening. Thank you, President Oakley and the board, for allowing me to speak to you in regards to our services in our Veterans Student Services Office. Before I begin, I would like to thank a few people who have been instrumental in providing support to the Veterans Office, starting with President Oakley, Dr. Peterson, my boss, Lillian Justice, and my staff, which consists of Rachel Ross, James Martinez, and Erica Gutierrez. Just to give you a little background before I begin in regards to the number of veterans that we're serving, I took over the Veterans Office in 2005. At that time, we were assisting about 200, 250 veterans and about 15 to 20 dependents. 10 years later, as you can see, we're assisting 783 veterans and 93 dependents. So as you can see, our numbers have increased, and my staff and I feel that having a space for them to gather is the reason why our numbers have increased. Some of the services that we provide is that we expedite their financial aid and their admissions and record issues. And what I mean by that is, for financial aid, if students have submitted an application for financial aid and it needs to be reviewed, depending on the time of the year, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for us to review that. We try to expedite that for the veterans so that they can receive their financial aid as soon as possible, because we do know that the Veterans Administration sometimes gets delayed in processing their GI Bill. We also provide counseling and transitional services to our veterans. We have 2 part-time adjunct academic counselors at this time. We only have one, currently. One of them left for a full-time position at Fullerton College. So Harold Anderson, who's our adjunct counselor, has been doing a wonderful job. We also have what's called a VET Success on campus, meaning that we are one of 94 colleges who has a vocational rehab counselor on campus. So we share her with Cal State Long Beach, and because we have a larger veteran population, we have her here 3 days a week, and they have her twice a week. What does that mean to our veterans? Meaning that she has access to the actual VA software, so she can check to see why a student hasn't gotten paid, why it's been delayed. She can also help them see if they're eligible for disability benefits, and also help them to see if they qualify for additional disability benefits. We have 2 psychological services on campus. One is strength and support, and the other one is outside the wire through US Vets. Why do we have 2? Because sometimes we don't get to have someone here 5 days a week. We may have them twice a week. So by doubling up, we can have someone here 5 days a week to be able to assist our veterans. We also have some interns from the USC School of Social Work that's connected to Outside the Wire who are here that help our veterans. And the way they work is they go ahead and assist our veterans in finding housing, job resources, and even some of the resources that we have here on campus. Again, with interns, we only have them a few times a week. So what we've done is we also have peer advisement, and that is veteran to veteran. So a veteran help another veteran find any resources that they may need. Student success enhancements. So what we've done is we offer a variety of workshops that are available to students, and because we have our own area, our Veterans Resource Center, we use that area to provide these workshops to them. It can range from how to apply for your disability benefits to career planning and then college visits. So it has they range. We also have a textbook loan library that has 100 plus books, and all those books have been donated by veterans themselves. So for students who may not be able to afford their books, they're actually able to check those books out through our Veterans Office. We also have a small computer lab. We have about 5 or 6, and they are used all the time. Students come in there to do their papers. They have access to being able to print and make copies within our office. We also are a VA work study approved site. When I started in 2005, I had 3 work study students. Right now, we currently have between 20 and 30 work study students as a rotating staff to assist our veterans. And they range from being tutors to being greeters to assisting students in filling out their GI Bill benefits online. Lastly, the most important part in regards to our space, we would like to increase the size of the space, but we went from a 15 by 15 space to a 4 times the size. So even though it's increased, we feel that we still need a little more space because veterans feel safe. They have a place where they can go and do their homework and don't have to worry about anything as far as in campus. I also I'll make it short just because I invited a veteran to come and speak in regards to her side. You're hearing it from my perspective, so she has a veteran's perspective. I have Laureen Perry.
President, members of the board, my name is Lauren Perry. I am also the VA student office manager down at the VSO here at Long Beach City College. I help with enrolling, making appointments. I volunteer in Vets Club, and then also make sure that all of my fellow veterans get their classes certified on time. The VSO is paramount to our success here at Long Beach City College. What people tend to oversee is they think oh, well, you go to the military, you come out, now you have free school. But there's so many changes that you have to go through, paperwork that has to be filed, things have to be done just in order to get your priority registration on time. Having this VSO makes that possible. Having the space that we have down there where students who, for example, could get afraid of protest or things like that due to the noise, because they do suffer from PTSD, have, brain trauma, suffered, sexual traumas. When things like that happen on the outside, the VSO is our safe place. It's like our unit. We're like a family down there. We all text each other throughout the day. If one of us goes ghost, we talk to each other, because it is a true fact that 22 veterans a day commit suicide, and we try to have not one here at Long Beach City College. As he mentioned, making our space larger, we really want to add as much into our VSO for our veterans as we can. So to have a space that we can make even a PTSD room, so that when they feel their triggers coming on because of the noise, because of the hustle and bustle for career day or whatever's going on campus, they can go to that safe place and just talk themselves down. Because anxiety and depression, it sucks. And unless you've gone through it yourself and know what it's like to have these triggers, having that safe place just means so much more to you. And that's what the VSO provides for us. Along with, our textbook library, we do our best to give, I give my books every semester, but we know a lot of times faculty will assign stuff before class even starts. Well, if you're in chapter 31 and you have a voucher, you cannot receive your textbook until you have a syllabus from your instructor. So if there was an assignment before class, you're behind. And then that brings on anxiety, because now you're playing catch up the whole semester. So I just thank you for your time. I thank you for this resource, and I just hope that we can all work together to just even improve the VSO and make it even bigger and greater for our veterans here. Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 4.1, Student Success Promise Pathways Evidence Update.
Trustee Otto, I had a couple comments on that item, if I may. I just wanted to thank the speakers, and our veteran student who also spoke. Was a very nice presentation, and I want to also thank our staff for their work, and I just want to make sure that you all know how important it is for me and for all of us, the support for the center. And I think we should be doing even more, and I know there's efforts to do that. So thank you so much for that great presentation. Thank you, President Otto.
Okay. Student Success Promise Pathways Evidence Update.
Yes, as ongoing presentations to the board on student success, today we'd like to talk specifically about the ongoing experience with our Promise Pathways program. So I'd like Dr. Peterson to introduce our team.
This is my job tonight.
I was going to say, one more presentation, you will be arrested for loitering.
I'm really excited. There are a lot of members of our Promise Pathways committee and our subcommittee teams. Tonight, we're pleased to have our co-chairs of one of our subcommittees, and that is our Dean of Counseling and Support Services, Noel Corral, and his faculty co-chair, Lorraine Blue, and the department chair, one of our department chairs for counseling, as well as Lauren Zisenko, our Director of Institutional Research, to talk us through a little bit about where we are with Promise Pathways.
Great. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you, Superintendent President Oakley, Board President Otto, and members of the board, members of the community. So we wanted to highlight a couple of pieces of where we are with Promise Pathways in terms of looking at research, looking at the numbers and data, but also give you a general update on some of the initiative groups and what we have going on in those areas. So if you're not familiar with Promise Pathways was really designed to help shorten the time to completion for students, as well as increase the number of students that complete from our local area high schools. The area of focus were to connect students to the institution. We did a lot on the connection piece, working with our high school partners, preparation for college level coursework, so alternative assessment, placing students at more appropriate English, math, reading courses, progress towards academic goals, so their time here at Long Beach City College, and completion towards certificates degrees and or transfer. So I'll turn this over to Lauren to share a little bit more about the data, and then Lorraine and I will touch base on some of the updates.
Evening, everyone. So I'm going to start by talking about who's participating in Promise Pathways and really the number of students we're serving in this initiative. We've now served 4 cohorts, so 4 cohorts of incoming students. We started in fall 2012 with 933 students coming from Long Beach Unified School District. That number soon grew in fall 2013. Not only were we serving more Long Beach Unified students, but we actually were able to add Bellflower and Paramount to the Promise Pathways initiative. And then you see later in fall 2014 and the subsequent term, we actually were able to add additional districts, ABC Unified, La Salle, and a private school in Long Beach, St. Joseph. And this was really possible through our outreach efforts and outreach department and through data sharing initiatives with our local K-12 districts. A big aspect of Promise Pathways started with alternative placement. And just as a refresher, what does alternative placement mean? Instead of solely relying on our standardized AccuPlacer placement test, we were able to use high school information, so how students performed in high school, to predict whether they would do well in our college courses and help that in the placement decisions for those students. We worked with faculty, so we did crunch the numbers and came up with the data points that we thought were important. And then we worked with the faculty and the disciplines to come up with the criteria to create the placement criteria. So this chart shows you the first bar is what our fall 2012 placements would have been without alternative placement. And then the second bar shows you how those placements changed with alternative placement. We placed a much larger percentage of our students in transfer level English than we would have without alternative placement using only AccuPlacer. And then it shows you for the subsequent cohorts, so for those students entering in fall 2013, 14, and 15, what the different placement percentages were. The placement sort of changed a little bit, and that's due to, well, every time we get a new group of students, they're slightly different. It's also due to the hard work of our faculty to review the data and the outcomes related to this alternative placement and slightly adjusting criteria across the years. So we know that we were placing more students in transfer level English with alternative placement, but when we looked at the success rates, we actually saw that they were very stable. And in fact, for Promise Pathway participants in the 14-15 year, they actually eclipsed the general population success rates. This is the same type of graph, focusing on math instead of English. So again, towards the left side of the chart, you see what the fall 2012 placements would have been without alternative placement and how they changed for the fall 2012 incoming cohort with the next bar. So we went from 10% who were going to be in transfer level math to 30%, and then the percentages across the cohorts. When we look at just the general success rates in math, we see again fairly stable success rates, but we do acknowledge that our Promise Pathway transfer level math success rate is a bit lower than the general population. What's very compelling though is when we start looking at our success rates of our Promise Pathway students compared to similar students or matched comparison group of students. So these students were came to Long Beach City College from Long Beach Unified from the 2010-11 and 11-12 school year, so before we started this initiative. And we matched them to our Promise Pathway students on a number of demographic variables. So they are the same gender, they're the same ethnicity, and most importantly, they came to us with the same academic performance in high school. And we see that our Promise Pathway students are successfully completing transfer level courses in math and English within 3 years at higher rates than that matched comparison group. These differences are seen across all ethnicities. So when we break down the data into different ethnicity groups, we still see that students in the Promise Pathways group are achieving this success so this is for math, at higher rates than the matched comparison group. And the same look at data across ethnicities for English. And I'll note in English, it's pretty impressive when you can see that our African American Promise Pathway students' success is higher than any other comparison ethnicity group. In addition to overcoming the barriers of our basic skills and our transfer level, our transfer level math and English, we looked at a couple other outcomes for our Promise Pathway students. We wanted to see how well they were doing sort of beyond those initial courses. This is looking at full-time attendance or enrollment, and we saw that there was a difference between Promise Pathway and comparison groups. In the first 3 terms, Promise Pathway students were enrolling full-time more often than the comparison group, but that difference disappears once you hit their 4th term. So that's something that the coordinating team has been thinking about in relation to how Promise Pathways was designed and what we want to do moving forward to continue to support their success throughout their education here at Long Beach City College. And we also looked at other long-term outcomes. So we looked at the percentage of students who are on track for 4-year completion. We do see that our Promise Pathway students are again outpacing their matched comparison group. When we look at degree, certificate, or transfer percentages within their first 3 years at Long Beach City College, we see a slight difference, but it's evening out, you could say. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Noelle and Lorraine to talk about the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. So now that you have a sense of our students and how our students are doing with Promise Pathways, now let's take a look at the structure of Promise Pathways. So we have a coordinating team and various initiative groups that comprise the coordinating members of the coordinating team. But I'd like to first acknowledge the campus community is really involved in Promise Pathways and the work. We have a lot of faculty, a lot of administrators, a lot of managers that are involved. So I'd like to first acknowledge them. And actually, if you're still in the room, I noticed a lot in the room earlier. If you're still in the room, can you just stand? If you're a part of an initiative group, operations group, Promise Pathways in some way, shape, or form. I know there's more than one. I see you guys. All right, they're bashful. There's a good dozen in here that participate, and we're meeting bi-weekly in addition to our initiative groups. So they're putting a lot of time, a lot of investment into this. So I just want to acknowledge that. As part of the coordinating team, we have members of our different initiative groups that comprise preparation for college, our counseling initiative group, post-secondary success, expanding pathways, and our operations subgroup. So we'll kind of talk about most of these in a little bit in terms of an update on where we are with them. And hopefully in future presentations, we can go in more detail about specific ones. So the first one is the preparation for college. So a little bit of a history. The preparation for college group focused on alternative assessments early on. So in 2012, 2013, really focusing in and working with the faculty, working with the different discipline groups. This was a cross-discipline collaboration that included English, math, reading, ESL faculty, as well as members from Long Beach Unified School District, Long Beach State, and Long Beach City. We have that, we got that, we're massaging that, and we continue to work on that. But now moving forward, we're looking at, from the state side, the common assessment. So the California Community College Chancellor's Office is mandating that all California community colleges adopt this common assessment and incorporate that in order to qualify for funding through SSSP, or the former matriculation. We are scheduled to adopt the common assessment in the fall of 2018. There's a timeline where different schools are bringing that on board at different times. And we're lucky enough to have a member of the board, actually our student trustee, that's a part of the statewide conversations of our common assessment, and which we're including into our preparation for college team to ensure that we have the student's voice as well as his expertise bringing from the state office. So thank you on that.